Hello everybody, this is Tony from Kate's Crafty Closet, and today we're going to make this fun, vibrant card. Like, reminds me of kind of like the 70s with the tie-dye and the flowers going on. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So the first thing we're going to need is some distressed watercolor cardstock. So I'm going to take that down, and then we're also today going to use some distressed crayons in 3 different colors. And the color combinations are completely up to you and what you want to use, how many colors you want to use, the pattern that you want to use. But today we're going to use 3 colors. We have picked raspberry, then we're going to have mustard seed, and then final color is today is going to be spice marmalade. So let's go ahead and start doing this. I'm going to turn my paper a little bit because it's just easier for me. And I'm going to start off with the pick raspberry, and I'm just going to start right here, and I'm just going to, apply the crayon on here. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And then we're going to go with the yellow, which is the mustard seed. First of all, let me grab some more of that pink and put it right there and right there. All right, so grab our mustard seed. Make sure you open up the lid, the top of it, and we're just going to go across, and then we're going to grab our spiced marmalade, open it up, and we're going to go, and we're just going to basically repeat this pattern until we have the watercolor paper covered. So, but yeah, like I said, the color combinations are completely up to you. Whatever you want to use, I've been having these distressed crayons for quite some time, and I always struggled, what can I do with them? What can I make with them? So that's why I decided to challenge myself today to go ahead and use my distressed crayons. Use my distressed crayons. I'm going to end with the pink since it's the most vibrant. All right. And so I'm going to make sure I close them all up and pull them back, which is totally up to you if you want to do that. But one thing about the distressed crayons is they really are easy to use, honestly. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in a little cup of water here. And I'm just going to take my old-fashioned tool that was given to me at birth. And I'm just going to grab a little bit of water, and I'm going to dab it. And if you want to have a paper towel close by or some kind of, that's cool. But if I want to keep this tie-dye look, I'm going to drag it into the next color just a little bit. And then I'm going to go on and move into that yellow and pull it into the orange. And periodically going to have to dip your finger into your water. I find that I tried using water brushes and spatulas and anything like that to move the pigment color, and this actually turned out to be the best way, is using the tool that is the least expensive, and it's always available. You won't lose this. You won't lose this tool. I have a tendency to misplace just about everything in my craft room, but I'll be okay with my handy dandy pokey tool, as I like to call it. This is my homemade pokey tool. So we're just going to continue to do this. And like I said, the pattern can be any way you want to. You can do any kind of pattern you want, any kind of tie-dye you look. So that's kind of the effect I was going for, was a little bit of the tie-dyed. But completely up to you and your imagination and your creation. So there we go. And if you see areas that need to be touched up, you feel free to just go in there with a little bit more water and smooth it all out. Again, we have a little bit there, and we have some here. So that's a wonderful thing about it. It's but once the crayons dry, they don't move as easily. So you want to kind of do your touch-ups pretty much right after you've completed this panel. And because this is a little saturated, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Ranger heat tool, which is perfect for this technique to dry, as opposed to using my heat embossing gun, just because number one, it's a little bit more quiet, and it really dries rather quickly and all that. So once you get it dry, you can just go ahead and go on to your next step. And I already have a panel created and dried, and I went ahead and die cut it with the MFT largest stitched rectangle A2 in there. And I did a different pattern on this, and I also have another one. I just wanted to test it all out and see how it looked. So we're going to go ahead and go with the one that we just did. Like, here we go right here. And what I did also is, like, I'll show you on this one that we just did, is I actually had to add, y'all know I have to add liquid pixie dust, right, from Ink on 3, because this is like one of my staples in my craft room. So I highly recommend going and get that. So I'm just going to shake it up, and I'm just going to put a little bit on my craft mat, and I will grab some water and mix it with it. And I'm just going to take a brush, whatever brush you have on hand, it will do. So I'm just going to mix that up a little bit. I'm just going to go over the whole card. Because it's watered down, it'll be a little bit less saturated, or more saturated, as we should say. And if you want to, just do it by each color, because that is still a little bit on the wet side, it will go ahead and move that crayon a little bit, but it won't move it a lot. So don't stress out about that. But so you don't kind of over mix the colors and you mix them together, I just clean it and go on to the next one. And I'm just doing this rather quickly. If you want to take time and you want to make sure you have, coverage. But the thing is about the liquid pixie dust, you can always go back and add this after the fact. You don't have to do it right away. It's completely up to you how you do that. So that is our liquid pixie dust. Like I said, this is one of my favorite products in my craft room. Absolutely. So we'll put that one to the side and let it dry, and we'll go ahead and come back with this one. And the next thing we're going to do is, I'm going to add a sentiment strip. I actually have to say that this is become a staple item as well in my craft room. Is these neat and tangled skinny strips. Totally love them. So we're going to go ahead, and I have one already ready for me to go ahead and use and try and see how it all going to come together and how it's all going to work. I'm going to go with one of the fishtail ones, just because that just sounds, wrong one. Okay, now that I have my little fishtail one that I'm going to use for today, I'm going to go ahead and use this stamp set it is from Reverse Confetti right here. And I'm going to use the Hugs and Kisses, which I already put on my round acrylic block. And I'm just going to go ahead with some baby powder and cover the little sentiment strip, so we don't have any stray embossing powder going on all over the place. And we'll just wipe that away. All right, and then I'm going to go in with my Ink on 3 Juicy embossing pad, and I'm just going to go ahead and tap lightly on my sentiment, and then I'm going to do my best to line it up with that sentiment strip and lightly press it, and boom, there we go. We have our sentiment on there. I'm going to make sure I close up my pad before I pull out my embossing powder, because can tend to have a mess. This is some Arctic White embossing powder from Ink on 3. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply it and kind of do a little, a little flick on the back to get any, stragglers that are lying around. And always close this up, because if I don't, I have a tendency to spill it, drop it, and all of that fun stuff. I'm just going to go ahead, since my Ranger heat tool is available, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to let it get hot as quickly as I possibly can, because it will take a little bit longer using the heat tool as opposed to using a heat embossing tool to melt this embossing powder. But it can be done. It just takes a little moment. And you can always know when embossing powder is done, because it turns from that dull shade to a more shiny as it melts. So I see how it gets a little bit more, filled in. So I've got that one little spot there. Okay, now it's done. So there we go. We have our heat emboss sentiment ready to go. And we'll bring back in our panel, and we're going to kind of apply it around here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some of my art glitter glue, and I'm going to adhere it down onto my card panel. All right, and the placement of it is completely up to you as well. All right, so we got that. Make sure I put my pen back into my fine metal tip on here, and then we're going to come in and bring in the flowers. These are just some Jolie's boutique flowers, and I'm just going to choose 3 different ones. Like, you can choose whatever colors you want. Any kind of flowers will do. So I'm going to go with a darker pink at the bottom, and before I glue them down, I'm going to do a placement to see where I want them, and I'm going to do three of these flowers. And I'm thinking, okay, that's probably is going to be perfect where I want them on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick them up, and I'm going to put art glitter glue on the back of this as well, because this is not super sticky, and adding a little bit more adhesive to this will make sure that it doesn't fall off easily. All right, so give that a moment to grab. That's the one thing I like about the art glitter glue, that it really does grab quickly. Like, there's not a huge wait or dry time on it. So it gives you a little bit of wiggle room, but at the same time it will dry and cling to your project. So there we have our flowers are on there. I could add a little bit of pixie dust to these petals if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that today. But you most certainly can do that. Feel free to do that. Put pixie dust on everything. I'm telling you, I put pixie dust on just about everything. And make sure I put my fine metal tip back in here. All right, so that we have that, and then I'm going to go in with these little gems that I have purchased recently at the expo, and I'm just going to do 3 at the bottom, and then I'm going to do 3 at the top, just because they're a little bit on the the smaller side. And who doesn't like bling, right? Like, bling just is happiness. All right, so there we have that one, and then we have one. Whoop, that one didn't go where I wanted it to go. It came up, which I think it doesn't have an adhesive on the back, which is fine. I can grab some art glitter glue later for another project. So there is the 3 that we have on here. So that kind of completes the front of our card. So now we're just going to go in and add some foam squares. These are just foam squares that I get from the Dollar Tree when I see them in stock, because I like them because they're rather large, and it's really quicker for me to do my projects, because I'm always super generous with my foam squares. It's like I tend to put a lot of them on there, and I'm okay with that. Alright, so almost done, and then we're going to complete our card. Put it all together and we'll be done. So it's a really super simple, easy card. And I will tell you that if you have children and grandchildren or any children in your family, making these backgrounds would be a fun project to do together as like a family, or like a summer project since school is out, that they can have and use. It's like finger painting, crafty style, you know, card making style. It's like, so yeah, definitely would be an awesome thing to do as a family project. Like, you know, when I was growing up, I didn't really get to do crafts like this, and then when I had my children, we used to do Friday nights at home or craft nights. Like, we made stuff together as a family. It was just really good, fun bonding time. And still to this day, they remember those days. They remember those moments like, oh, y'all remember when we made this? I'm like, yep, I sure do. All right, so I'm going to come in with some, this is a 110 pound black cardstock from Recollections. And this is a top folding card. So it's measured 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is your standard A2 size card. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some art glitter glue onto my foam squares because it gives me that little bit of wiggle room, because I have a tendency to never be able to line this up the first time in one shot. It just never happens that way. So this allows me, if I make an error, that I have a little bit of wiggle room, that I can move it until I can place it to where I want it to go, or the best possible scenario for me. So I'm going to put my tip back in some of my art glitter glue. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and adhere this to the front of our card base. And this, like I said, I'm going to do my best to line it up. See how it's, because you still have a little bit of adhesive, you know, readily available from the foam squares. It will grab even if you have to pull it up. So that completes our card today. And like I said, you can use any sentiment you want, any sentiment strips that you have, and just have fun with it. So I want to thank you all for being here today and joining me. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and make sure you hit that subscribe button, and also hit that little notification bell so you can be updated and notified every time I upload a video to YouTube. So thank you again, and y'all have a crafty day, y'all.